What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Swift to Jake. Hope you all had a nice holiday. I've been gone for a while, but I am back. We had a lot of MLB free agency news, a lot of news, sports news in general. We'll start with baseball free agencies going wild. So, a lot of drama with Carlos Correa. It appeared, of course, he had agreed to a 13-year, $350 million deal with the San Francisco Giants. Now, all of a sudden, there was a problem with his physical. They had a problem with his physical, some sort of leg injury he had back in 2014. I believe that was his rookie season. And then, so Giants president of baseball operations, Farhan Zaidi, was talking with Scott Boras, who's, of course, probably the biggest agent in all sports. He told him, within the next couple of days, you got to figure this out. We're going to have to talk to other teams. And then eventually, Giants said, this is not going to work. You can go talk to other teams. So then Steve Cohen called him, owner of the Mets, and he finalized a 12-year deal worth $350 million. Only problem is now the Mets are having issues with the physical, and it's the same issue. So it's definitely a little bit of a concern. As a Mets fan, I do hope they finalize this deal. If the back half is ugly, we'll deal with that. Mets are in win now mode. They're trying to win a World Series right now. Obviously, they've spent so much money this offseason for a reason. It looks like both sides are optimistic they will figure it out. You look for both sides. The Mets have been so vocal about it. You've seen all these posts about how scared his Mets team is. Steve Cohen's been very vocal about how happy he is that they brought in Carlos Correa. If you're Carlos Correa, if you have two monster contracts fall through within a couple of weeks of each other, I don't think anyone's going to give you a long-term deal. So both sides have reasons to complete the deal. I do think they will complete the deal. I heard so it's just over 50%, 55% chance it happens. I heard a couple of teams have reached out, but I do believe he wants to be here. He was very happy when Boras told him that he finalized the deal. Supposedly, Boras in an interview saying he tackled Scott Boras on the hotel bed, but he's very happy. I do believe he wants to be here. I think they're just trying to work through some stuff. I think the Mets are maybe trying to rework the deal. Maybe you front load the deal so he gets a little bit, he makes more money. Maybe the first half of the deal and the back half doesn't make as much to kind of like soothe the pain if the back half of the deal goes really poorly, if he falls apart physically. Who knows? Maybe they're trying to shorten the deal, make it not as long or something, or maybe give a little bit less money or something. I don't think Carlos Correa is willing to restructure his deal. So I think they're just working things out, like, how they're going to restructure his deal. Are they going to restructure the deal? Are they going to front load it, back load it? What are they going to do? I do believe he will be a New York Met eventually, hopefully soon. As a Met fan, I've been sitting on the edge of my seat 24/7 for weeks, waiting for the news that the Correa deal has been announced. And I'm hearing, it's 55% chance, 51-49. They're still working through things. We haven't heard much. Not sure. I'm waiting to hear, but as of right now, it's on hold. He's technically a Met, but he actually hasn't put pen to papers because there's something came up in the physical. But hopefully the Mets figure it out. I do think he will be a Met. Hopefully very soon, because I can't take this. I don't have the patience for this anymore. Another shortstop signed a big deal. Dansby Swanson goes to the Chicago Cubs. 7 years, $177 million. Former number one pick in the draft by Arizona, then got traded to Atlanta. First few years of his career struggled, but the last few years has turned into a really good player. Had a career year last year. Overall, you look at his numbers for his career, hasn't been quite the superstar we thought when he was drafted number one overall those years ago. But last year has turned into one of the better shortstops in baseball. Had the best year of his career this past season. He's a very good player, and the Cubs make a big move to land him. He told a story that his grandpa grew up loving the Cubs. His two favorite teams were the Cubs and the Braves. So this is kind of a dream come true for him to play for both his grandpa's favorite teams. Kudos to him. Now the Cubs they've been making some moves. They added Jameson Taillon to their rotation, gave him $68 million. Now you had Swanson in the league lineup. Cubs, of course, had a tough year last year. I believe had 100 losses this past season. Now, like a team, could possibly compete for a playoff spot after they've been a little more aggressive than we thought they would. Obviously 2 years ago they blew up a team. We traded Bryant, Baez, and Rizzo and all those guys at the trade deadline. They had a lot of payroll space. You're wondering, would they, be a little aggressive and try to get back in contention right away? They kind of sat on their hands a little bit. And I guess this offseason, for the second straight offseason, they had a lot of payroll space, and they decided to take advantage. So J.P. Swanson is a Chicago Cub. I'm not sure if the Braves didn't want him back. They had that kid, Vaughn Grissom, the young kid who came up last year, played very well for them. Obviously, he's still under call. He's still calls control for probably at least 4 or 5 more years. They probably figured no reason to overpay for Swanson when we have this kid, right in our lap. Swanson said at his introductory press conference with the Cubs, he said they already didn't make a real offer, and that it was pretty clear they were moving on from the start. So he went out and signed the Chicago Cubs. I think it's a very good sign for both sides. Swanson gets a pretty big deal. He gets a 7-year contract. He'll be at the Cubs for pretty much the majority of the rest of his career. Gets $177 million for the Cubs. I think it's a pretty good deal for the Cubs. That's only just over $25 million a year. I was thinking Swanson was going to get at least $200 million, and he got $177. So I think it's a really good deal for both sides. Going back to New York, except we go to the Bronx. Carlos Rodon went to the Yankees. 6 years, $162 million. Big contract for Rodon. Yankees were pulling for him, trying to write him in for weeks. With after DeGrom and Verlander and a couple of other guys went off the market, Rodon easily became the top starting pitcher available. He goes to the New York Yankees. 6 years, $162 million. He's a guy who was a very high draft pick. I think it was like a top 5 pick by the White Sox for years. Couldn't figure it out. Was inconsistent. A lot of injuries. And then a couple of years ago, the White Sox, they'll give him one more chance on a short deal, and he pitched really well. Then he was with the Giants the last couple of years, and he really broke out these last 2 years with the Giants. Been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball these last couple of years, and he got his bag with the New York Yankees. That gives now the Mets and the Yankees rotations might be the 2 best in baseball. The Mets probably have the best top 2 in baseball with Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. And then you got Kodai Senga, the Japanese sensation who you bring in, was a stud in Japan. Hopefully, transfers to the major leagues. Then you have Carlos Carrasco and Jose Quintana in the back, 2 solid innings leaders. And now the Yankees at the top have Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon. You also have Luis Severino, if he can stay healthy. You have Frankie Montas as well in that rotation. You do lose Tyone, but they still have an excellent rotation as well. So you got those might be the 2 best rotations. They both might be in New York. Andrew Benintendi goes to the White Sox, so the Yankees don't re-sign him, but he goes to the White Sox. 5 years, $75 million. Big deal for Benintendi. Last year had a real strong year, hit over 300 last year. Had some injuries, so he missed the home stretch of the year. For start of the year at the Royals, was traded to the Yankees at the trade deadline. But he's a very good player, still in his prime, left-hander, very good outfielder. He's a left fielder, can play all 3 positions though. Very good hitter. Gets on base slots, got good speed. He's got a World Series ring with the Boston Red Sox in 2018. Very good player. White Sox needed a corner out there, and they get him with Benintendi. So if he stays healthy, that could be a really good signing. Yeah, Brandon Drury going to the Angels, 2 years, $17 million. He had a career this year. Guy who can play all over the field defensively, and he had a career at the plate. Angels add him to the lineup, trying to get Mike Trout to the playoffs. They're trying. They're doing whatever they can. They added Tyler Anderson to the rotation. Now you add Drury. They made the trade for Hunter Renfroe. Everyone's joking is like Mike Trout Jr. because he looks just like Mike Trout. They're trying to get Mike Trout to the postseason. And they're also, Art Moreno's also trying to sell the team. I don't blame him at this point. If you can't get to the play with Trout and Ohtani, you might as well just give up. Michael Conforto goes to the Giants, 2 years, $32 million. If there's any San Francisco Giants fans, my apologies. Y'all had Aaron Judge for 7 minutes, and Carlos Correa for 2 weeks. Yikes. And over the years, the Giants have gotten really close to acquiring so many star players. They tried to trade for Giancarlo Stanton a bunch of years back. And it was either think the Yankees just beat you out, or they may have agreed on a deal. Stanton might have just veto the deal because Stanton had a no trade clause. I know the Cardinals had agreed on a deal to trade for him, and then he exercised his clause because I guess he didn't want to go there. And then they ended up working out to go to the Yankees, and he was fine with that. They made Bryce Harper a big offer. They made him like a 12-year offer with like $3 to $15 million a couple of years ago when Harper was a free agent. He's turned it down. They ended up signing the deal he signed with the Philadelphia Phillies. So he almost got handed. Obviously, you thought you had Aaron Judge, and then John Haven said you had Aaron Judge, and then he was like, "Oh wait, first of all, he spelled his name wrong in the report. Second of all, actually, he's not the Giants. There's no deals finalized, and of course, the Yankees ended up re-signing him only a few days later. And you had Correa for 2 weeks, but then y'all didn't like what something came up in his physical, so you decided not to do the deal. They have, and you also lose Carl Rodon, your best starting pitcher. You have added a couple of guys though. Prior to the Aaron Judge thing even happening, you added Mitch Hangier. If healthy, he's a very good player. Conforto, who did not play last year because he was a free agent. He turned on the qualifying offer from the Mets. He couldn't get what he wanted. And he ended up having shoulder surgery in April that cost him the entire season. Now, his last year with the Mets in 2021 wasn't great. He only hit like 230. Prior to that, he had an overall very successful tenure with the Mets from a first-round pick. Now, in 2019, he had 33 home runs that year. In the pandemic year, he had a very good year. He's a very good outfielder, mainly a right fielder that can play left and center. He's a good outfielder. Overall, he's been a solid middle of the order bat, left-hander, good clubhouse guy. Giants add him to their outfield. Also add Taylor Rogers to their bullpen, 3 years, $33 million. He's didn't have a great year last year between San Diego and Milwaukee, but he's had a very successful career. He's been one of the better late inning arms in baseball for a while now, besides last year. He was in Minnesota for most of his career. And him to their bullpen. Now he's now going to be playing with his brother, Tyler Rogers. They got that's one. I'm not sure if we've ever had two relief pitchers who are brothers be on the same team. So they reunite. The Marlins yesterday signed Gene Segura, 2 years, $17 million. That's a solid signing for the Marlins. He's a little older, but still a good player, still a solid hitter. He's very well traveled. He's got some, he got a lot. He got some playoff experience. Of course, the Phillies. He was on the Phillies this year, and they went to the World Series. He can play second base, can play shortstop, can also play third. Good clubhouse guy. So Miami adds him to their infield. Joey Gallo goes to the Twins, 1 year, $11 million. And of course, last year, first half of the year of the Yankees, he was abysmal. Was a little better with the Dodgers, and now with the shift being banned this year. I think I was always complaining about the shift, mainly because he's such a dead pull hitter. He's lefty. When he hits a line drive to right field, it'll look like a clean single. It's right to second baseman. The shift probably hurt him the most of any player in the league. Now with the shift gone, he's a guy that could really benefit. So Twins could possibly get a steal there. We'll see what happens. Phillies pick up Craig Kimbrell, 1 year, $10 million. Obviously, Kimbrell is one of the greatest closers of all time. Probably the greatest relief pitcher of his generation. Tough year last year with the Dodgers. He was inconsistent last year. Ended up losing the closer role down the stretch. But, as of a couple of years ago, he was probably one of the best relievers in baseball. Obviously, he's had an incredible career with the Braves and the Padres and the Red Sox. He won a ring with the Red Sox in 2018. So Phillies at him. Hoping for my bounce back here from him. Justin Turner goes to the Red Sox. He gets 1 year, $15 million, plus a player option for $6.7 million for 2024. Solid signing for the Red Sox, who have had a tough off season. They lost Bogarts. Of course, they've had a lot of trouble retaining their stars. You trade Mookie Betts a couple of years back. And Ben Tennings is another guy they gave away who's blossomed since leaving Boston. You lost Bogarts for nothing. Rafael Devers, who's the one star you have left. You haven't extended him yet. Rumors they might have to trade him. They do have Justin Turner, who's much older now. He's like 37 or 38 years old. Not as good defensively at third. but he can still play over there. I heard they're going to move him over to first base, which he has played before in the past. He's still a very good hitter, really good clubhouse guy. He's got a lot of postseason experience. He has a World Series ring. Yeah, as an FA, I still can't believe the Mets let him go all those years ago. Solid signing. He's still a very good player. Michael Brantley re-signed with the Astros 1 year, $12 million. If he's healthy, he's a difference maker. Really good meal, one of the best, bat to ball hitters in the league. A lot of injuries last year. Has had injury concerns throughout his whole career, but if he's healthy, he's a very good player. Another bat for the Astros. JD Martinez goes to the Dodgers, 1 year, $10 million. JD is not the player he once was. Older player, but he's still a real solid middle of the order threat. He'll most likely be the designated hitter for the Dodgers. You have to got a smaller signing here. Austin Hedges to the Pirates, 1 year, $5 million. Gets him some depth at catcher. Hedges not a good hitter, but a very good defender behind the plate. Dodgers had Noah Syndergaard to the rotation, 1 year, $13 million. Okay, Syndergaard, he's got a big mouth. As a Met fan, I can't stand the guy. I've been very vocal about that. He's not the pitcher he once was. I know he said he thinks he can throw 100 again. I don't believe it. He can't reach triple digits anymore. His stuff is not what it once was. He's not going to strike out 9-10 guys every time anymore. But he is still a decent middle of the rotation starter. He can still help a team. He's got a big mouth. I think he's a bit of a bitch. Obviously he always gets like pushed back whenever the Mets play out. I find that very little bit coincidental. But he is still a decent starting pitcher. And of course, he's got some postseason experience. He has pitched well in the postseason. With the Mets, he was very good. He was not great with the Phillies, but didn't get a ton of work either with the Phillies on their run. Yeah, Brad Buxberger goes to the Cubs, 1 year, $3 million, plus a mutual option for an extra $5 million. He's a solid reliever. Cubs continue to add pieces. Tigers have Michael Lorenzen, 1 year, $8.5 million. He was a solid reliever for the Reds for a while. Last year was with the Angels as a starter, was okay. We'll see what the Tigers do with him. If they put him in the rotation, they put him in the bullpen. Orioles son Adam Frazier, 1 year, $8 million. He's a solid player. Bit of a down year last year after being an all-star the year prior between Pittsburgh and San Diego, but he's a solid hitter. He's a versatile defender, mainly a second base, but can play pretty much anywhere. He can get on base. He's a good leadoff hitter. Orioles add him to their lineup. Omar Narvaez goes to the Mets, 1 year, $8 million, plus a player option for another $7 million. Mets trade James McCann to the Orioles, by the way. They retained $19 with $24 million left on his contract, but they need to get him out of there. He's been horrible since they gave him the $40 million contract. Now the Mets have Narvaez and Tomas Nido will be their top two. Narvaez only hit like 209 last year, but overall, he's been a very good hitter. A couple of years ago, he had 22 home runs. He was an all-star 2 years ago, and he's a decent defender. He's overall a solid catcher. They add him. Of course, we have the league's best prospect, Francisco Alvarez. We'll see how he pencils into things. Trevor May goes to the Athletics, 1 year, $7 million. He had a tough year last year with the Mets, but was good with the Twins for a while. 2 years ago was decent for the Mets. And he goes to Oakland. I'm at this point, I'm glad Oakland signed somebody. They will not spend money. Garrett Hampson goes to the Marlins minor deal. That's an interesting one. He was a top prospect for Colorado. Didn't really work out, but he had his bright moments. See if he can unlock something in Miami. He's an infield that can play the outfield. A lot of potential when he first came up with Colorado. Never really worked out. See what happens in Miami. Seth Lugo goes to the Padres, 2 years, $15 million. He was one of the better relievers in baseball for a long time for the Mets, but he came up a starter for the Mets. Wasn't great. Was a little inconsistent. The Mets moved him to the bullpen, and he was very good as a reliever, so they kept him there. But for years, he has said that he's a starter and he wants to be a starter, and the Padres do plan to make him a starter. So it looks like he'll probably be penciling as probably their 5th starter. Rich Hill goes to the Pirates, 1 year, $8 million. Cannot believe this guy is still pitching. He is 42 years old, like his 19th year in the league. He's 42. Last year had a 4.37 ERA in 24 starts in Tampa. He goes to Pittsburgh now. He's out. I think it's like his 12th team, something like that. He's got to break the record. The record for most teams for a player. Edwin Jackson was a starting pitcher for a while. And from 2003 to like 2019 or something, he retired. He was on 14 different teams. I think Rich Hill's at 12, so we'll see if he can break the record. He's 42 years old, still going strong. He's still, going to give you probably 4.5, 5 innings every time he goes out there. Jordan LeBlanc goes to the Braves. That's 1 year, $1.4 million. Gets him some outfield depth. Michael Givens goes back to the Orioles where he started his career. Of course, last year was between the Cubs and the Mets. He gets a 1 year deal worth $5 million. Last year was pretty good with the Cubs. Wasn't great with the Mets. The Mets trade for him. He goes back to Baltimore. Padres signed Matt Carpenter 1 year, $12 million, with a $9 million player option for 2024. He's a guy who at one point was one of the premier players in the league with the Cardinals. Then he had like a 3 year stretch where he was horrible, fell off a cliff. He completely redid his swing, but no one would sign him. The Yankees picked him up because they had so many injuries last year to their outfield, and they just picked him up and they stuck him in. They stuck him in the outfield, and he ended up having a big year. Ended up getting hurt, and so we didn't see him for the home stretch. I think he eventually came back a little bit later in the playoffs, but he hit like 340 with like 15 home runs in like 40 games. Obviously, I don't expect him to do that, but he played great with the Yankees. He's a nice bat for San Diego to add. Can play all over the field. He's older now, not quite the same defender he once was, but clearly he can still swing the bat. Jordan Lyles goes to the Royals, 2 years, $17 million. So I'll pick up for the Royals and need as much help as they can get. That team is very bad. Yeah, decent year with the Orioles last year. He can be a solid innings leader. Mets re-signed Ottavino. 2 years, $14.5 million. Can opt out after this season. He had a really good year with the Mets this past year. Had a ERA just a touch over 2. Was one of the better setup guys in all baseball. Mets bring him back and re-sign him. Cubs re-signed Drew Smyly, 2 years, $19 million, plus a mutual option. He was pretty good last year for the Cubs. He ate some nice innings for them. You had Will Myers go to the Reds, 1 year, $7.5 million plus an option. He's a guy who's been up and down throughout the years. He came up, he was a starter making. Padres gave him that huge contract. He's been up and down since then. Didn't have a great year last year. Reds are probably hoping for him to bounce back and then probably trade him. This report yesterday, Corey Kluber goes to the Red Sox. 1 year, $10 million plus a team option for $11 million. Incentives can make that a little more. Not the guy he once was last year. But with the Rays, was 10-10 for 4.34 ERA. He still eats some innings for you. Where Red Sox could use some starting pitching help. Actually, here in the Red Sox, by the way, are interested in trading Sales. We'll listen to offers on Chris Sales. We'll see what happens there. Mets signed Luke Casey for depth on a 1 year deal, $1.15 million. Was injured most of last year. A couple of years ago for the Padres was a decent starter. 2 years ago for the Mets, he was a depth option. He was okay. See if he could be a bullpen option for the Mets. Tucker Barnhart goes to the Cubs, 1 year, $6.5 million, but a player option. He's not a great hitter, but he's always been a great defender. He'll probably be their backup catcher to Yan Gomes. You got Nathan Eovaldi goes to Texas Rangers, 2 years, $34 million. He's a little older. He's had some injury, but he's a decent starting pitcher. Of course, he's had a lot of postseason success in the past. Texas Rangers now already have 6 quality starters. Obviously, you have DeGrom. You have Martin Perez, who gave a qualifying offer. I think he had a career last year. You have John Gray. They made a move to get Jake Odorizzi. Now you add Nathan Eovaldi. They got a lot of arms over there in Texas. If they stay healthy, they can be one of the league fifth rotation. The problem is I'm not sure if they can stay healthy. Then you got what else we got here? We got Kirk Casale goes to the Reds add depth. I'm just happy the Reds on anybody at this point. That's all. That's most of the free agent news. We got a couple of trade. We had Mets added Denny. Remember, 1 year, $1 million. That's a pretty good signing. He last year was playing well before he got hurt. He's a guy who's a good utility guy. Not spending a lot of money. He's a good, decent bench player. He's healthy. Could be a bench guy on the Mets. We'll see what happens. You had the Cincinnati Reds actually DFA'd Mike Moustakas. That huge deal they gave him a couple of years back that has not worked out. They had a couple of trades. Guardians trade Owen Miller to the Brewers. He's a utility infielder. He goes to Milwaukee. The actually Connor Joe from a Rockies outfield was traded to the Pirates. He's actually an underrated player. He's a decent hitter. Good outfielder, still young. Pirates pick him up. We had a couple of big trades. Dalton Varsho trade from the Diamondbacks to the Blue Jays. He's came up a catcher, but wasn't great defensively. The Diamondbacks moved him to the outfield. He won a Gold Glove last year. Only hit like 230, but hit 27 home runs. Still a young player, chance to be a great player. Was decent last year. Like I said, hit 27 homers and was a really good outfielder. Can catch. He's a good player. Toronto picks him up to give up their top prospect, Gabriel Moreno, who's a catcher. Really, really talented. Chance to be one of the better hitters in the entire league, and as well as Lourdes Gurriel, who when healthy is a very good player. He's had some good years for the Blue Jays. So it's an interesting trade. Very good return for Arizona, and Blue Jays pick up a quality player in Dalton Varsho. You had the Braves trade for Sean Murphy, who's a very good catcher, great defender. Doesn't hit for a ton of power, but he can give you 20 homers. He's a bit of a streaky hitter, but when he's on, does have a lot of power, and he's a great defender. And they give him a 6-year, $73 million extension. Another young player who the Braves give a team-friendly long-term extension. Kudos to the Braves for doing that. They pick up Sean Murphy. The Boston Red Sox, they DFA'd Eric Hosmer and Jeter Downs. Jeter Downs was the top prospect they got from Mookie Betts. And he was a guy who, never really came of anything. He was not even good in the minors. He had like 154 in a couple of calls with the Red Sox last year. So they DFA'd him. Also DFA'd Eric Hosmer, who's a veteran first baseman. Of course, he won the World Series with the Kansas City Royals in 2015. They got him they picked him up in a trade. Because in the need of the first baseman, he was played pretty well. Not the player he once was, but he's still a solid everyday first baseman. So that's a bit of a surprise. By the way, Aaron Judge is officially the 16th captain in the history of the New York Yankees. Congratulations to him. And Trevor Bauer was actually reinstated. Of course, Bauer was accused of some sort of domestic violence incident. He has denied it several times. The woman obviously thinks otherwise. Baseball originally gave him a suspension of like 350 or 360 games, which is over like a couple of years. And a judge just reduced his suspension to 194 games because he's already served that time already. He was just reinstated. We'll see. Obviously, although he's a complete head case, when he's on the mound and he's healthy, he is a great pitcher. At least the last time he was on the field. He hasn't pitched in forever. So we'll see. Will Dartis keep him and give him a shot to make the rotation? Will they cut him, which I think they might do? I know there's a lot. I'm not sure if they'll want him in the locker room, so we'll see what happens. And the last thing I'll say before I move on to hockey, for people that are concerned in that quote about Steve Cohen spending money, shut up, okay? Shut up. For years, you guys complain about the Mets. The Mets are not spending money. They're a big market and they're pinching pennies when in Wilpon. Then all of a sudden, Steve Cohen comes and spends all the money in the world, and then you say, oh, he's spending too much money. Someone's got to stop him. Pick a side, okay? Shut up. You're just jealous that your owner isn't Steve Cohen. Every fan should want Cohen as their owner. He's this generation's George Steinbrenner, not in terms of winning, obviously, because he just got there. He obviously hasn't won as much as Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner had won God knows how many World Series. But in terms of spending money, he is this generation's George Steinbrenner, okay? Shut up. How is he bad for baseball? I don't understand. What's bad for baseball is the Oakland Athletics. And they're like $5 payroll. Pittsburgh Pirates, and they're like $9 payroll. The Cincinnati Reds, and they're $12 payroll. And all of a sudden, the Boston Red Sox, they're in freaking Boston. And they're letting star player after star player walk. Their payroll is shrinking as we speak. I just don't understand how it's bad for baseball. Give me a break with that. Moving on to hockey scores from last night, and then we'll do a standings update. Lightning over the Canadiens, 4-1. You had the Bruins over the Devils. 3-1. You had the Red Wings over the Penguins, 5-4 in overtime. They overcome a 4-0 deficit in that game in the first period. Ducks beat the Golden Knights 3-2. That's a big upset. It's what the worst team in that game was a shootout. Worst team in hockey beats one of the league's best teams in hockey. John Gibson, Ducks go had 49 saves in that one. Wow. And Flames over the Kraken 3-2. To a standings update. To go by the conference. In the East, you got Boston. It's 28-4-3. They are rolling. Absolutely rolling. Got the Carolina Hurricanes have won 9 in a row. They have steamrolled all the way to second in the East with 52 points. Boston's got 59. Toronto's in third with 50 points. Devils are struggling a bit, have lost 8 of 10. Are still in 4 from the count to 46 points. Pittsburgh's at 44. Fifth. Washington Capitals are red hot. They have won 5 in a row, and I think like 10 lost 11. They get to 44 points. Tampa's at 7 to 43, and the Rangers are also at 43. They also got to a slow start. I think they've won 8 of their last 10. So they're playing a lot better. Islanders are a point out. Got Detroit's 6 points out, and following them is Buffalo. I don't know what's going on in Florida with the Florida Panthers. They're supposed to be a top 5 team in the league. They had won the President's Trophy last year, lost in the second round to Tampa, but also Tampa's unbeatable in the postseason. And they made the trade to get Matthew Tkachuk, and right now they are 12th in the Eastern Conference. They are 9 points out of the playoffs. They got Ottawa, Montreal, Philadelphia, and Columbus. But like Philadelphia, I don't think Toronto's going to work over there. Yeah, obviously, you bench Tony DeAngelo. Well, we know about his issues, and then he got upset about it, and now he said he's taking a leave. He stepped away from the team to be, I think his wife had a baby. That looked like some really odd timing. He benched Kevin Hayes, who's their leading goal scorer. Hayes has come out and said that he disagreed with it. But he said that, but he said he's a coach on the player. Some other players I heard didn't like that he did that. So Torrell obviously has had a very successful coaching career, but he's not for everybody, obviously. And what's going on in Columbus? 10-21-2 in last place in the Eastern Conference. They gave Johnny Gaudreau all that money to be maybe the worst team in the league. What's going on in Columbus? Good Lord. And the Las Vegas is in first place, 24-12-2. The goaltending is held up. And obviously, their core guys have stayed healthy. Got Dallas in second with 48 points. The Kings in third with 46 points. Winnipeg Jets are in fourth with 43. Minnesota's in fifth with 42. Calgary's in sixth with 41. Kraken have fallen down a little bit, still in seventh with 41 points. Colorado in eighth with 40. They're battling a lot of injuries right now. Edmonton also has 40. I don't understand. They have the two best players in the league, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And then they're not even in the playoff. That's embarrassing. You got Vancouver with 5 points down. St. Louis is 5 points down. And what's going on in St. Louis? Jordan Binnington is just awful. It's terrible goaltender. Wow. Well, what happened to him? Nashville is falling apart. Now 7 points out. And then you got Arizona, San Jose, Anaheim, and Chicago. Good Lord. Blackhawks are 8-21-4. Have lost 9 of their last 10 and are the worst team in the league. It's blow my team up. From a scandal last year to how bad they've been the last year's, good Lord. They need to just explode that team. That's hockey. Let's talk about some college basketball. Scores from yesterday. You had number 2 UConn beat Villanova 74-66. UConn's 14-0 this year. Wow. Useless from the one, but the men's team stepping up this year. Number 3 Houston over Tulsa 89-50. Houston's having the big year this year. Number 7, Tennessee over Ole Miss, 63-59. Tennessee sports having some year. Their football team had their best year in decades, and then their basketball team is doing really good this year as well. Number 8, Alabama over 21 Mississippi State, 78-67. And LSU with a huge upset over number 9 Arkansas, 60-57. Who had number 10 Gonzaga beats East Oregon 120-42. Yikes. Eastern Oregon. I did not know that place existed. I was not aware that was a university in this country. Number 12, Baylor over Nichols, 85-56. Number 13, Virginia over Albany, 66-46. Yeah, Missouri with an upset over number 19, Kentucky 89-75. Kentucky is really struggling. Number 20, Auburn over Florida 61-58. Number 22, Xavier over St. John's 84-79. Number 22, New Mexico over Colorado State 88-69. You had the number 14, Miami was supposed to play Vermont. The game was canceled. Not too sure why, but the game was canceled. The college basketball rankings right now, as of this week, as Purdue remains number 1, UConn is number 2, Houston number 3, Kansas 4th, Arizona 5th, Texas 6th, Tennessee 7th, Alabama 8th, Arkansas 9th, Gonzaga 10th, UCLA at 11, Baylor at 12, Virginia at 13th, Miami at 14th, Wisconsin is at 15th, Indiana at 16th, Duke at 17th, TCU at 18th, Kentucky at 19th, Auburn at 20, Mississippi State at 21st, Xavier at 22nd, at 23rd, you got New Mexico, West Virginia at 24th, and North Carolina at 25th. All these blue balls are not doing too high. I thought Kansas is ranked 4th. You got Duke's only 17th. Kentucky's ranked 19th, and they're probably going to drop even further in the next rankings. And then UNC is barely even ranked. UNC entered this year as number 1 team in the country. They're now like 25th, and I think last week they weren't even ranked. So they're having a tough time. On to NBA action. Games from yesterday. Pistons over the Magic, 121-101. Alec Burks had 32 points in that one. Wizards over the Suns, 127-102. Riachi Moore had 30 points. Something is up in Phoenix. There's a lot going on over there. Their owner, Robert Silvercourt, was suspended for a year for all the off the court issues he had with like the racism and misogynistic comments he apparently made in the workplace. He just sold the team to some businessman, so the Suns just ownership just changed. Their star player Devin Booker is out for a month. Chris Paul hasn't played well. DeAndre Ayton doesn't want to be there. Obviously you was seen arguing with Monty Williams during a timeout about a week ago. Something is wrong in Phoenix. The Nets over the Hawks, 108-107. Kevin Durant, 26 points, 16 boards, 8 assists. 10 in a row for the Nets, who were 3rd in the East. Ever since Jacques Vaughn took over, this team is finally looking like the team that we've been waiting for a couple of years now. Kudos to Jacques Vaughn. Heat over the Lakers, 112-98. Jimmy Butler, 27 points and 6 steals in that one. Bulls over the Bucks, 119-113 in an upset. DeMar DeRozan, that game went to overtime. DeMar DeRozan, 42 points and 10 rebounds. And then Giannis, 45 points, 22 boards, 7 assists. Giannis is something else. Bulls actually, ever since the reports came out that Zach LaVine's is not getting along with DeRozan, you might have to trade one of them, and there's a lot of turmoil over there with the coach and the players, specifically LaVine and DeRozan, they're 2 stars, and the team might be in trouble. Bulls have actually been playing a little bit better. We'll see. Pelicans over the T-Wolves, 119-118. Zion had 43 points, career high. Kudos to Zion. He's playing some really good basketball. And Pelicans are cruising. Warriors over the Jazz, 112-107. 19 points for Dante DiVincenzo. Laurie Market, 29 points, 16 boards in the loss. Golden State's trying to pick it up. Obviously down Steph Curry. Something's going on over there. Got the Kings over the Nuggets, 127-126. De'Aaron Fox, 31 points, 13 assists. A 40-burger for Jokic in the loss. That's the NBA action. You got the NBA standings as of right now. Very, very tight, especially in the West. We'll start on the East. Celtics, 25-10. They're rolling. The Brooklyn Nets have won 10. They're up to 2nd in the East now. Nets are 2 games out of 1st place in the East. 23-12. They've won 10 in a row. Milwaukee is ranked 3rd. Cleveland is ranked 4th. Got Philly at 5th. Number 6 is the Miami Heat, who are starting to play better, finally. Next to the first playing team, they've lost 4 in a row, so they won 8 in a row. You got Indiana, who's got the same record as them. You got Atlanta at 9th. And the Bulls are the last playing team. They're tied with the Raptors. I don't know what's going on in Toronto. They look awful. Something's going on in Atlanta, too. They're underperforming right now. I'm hearing Trae Young might request a trade. Well, he's not happy over there. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but he He might not be getting along with the coach, McMillan. And we'll see what happens. I'm hearing he's not very happy, and he might get traded. We'll see what happens. And then the Boston Wizards, the Magic, who are actually playing pretty well right now. You got the Hornets, who look god awful, and then the Pistons. In the West, you have a tie for first from the Pelicans and the Nuggets. Pelicans have looked great. Zion's popping off, and the Denver Nuggets are tied, and they haven't had Michael Porter Jr. for most of the season. Memphis Grizzlies are in third, Clippers in fourth, Suns are in fifth. On what's going on in Phoenix. Kings are in sixth. You got Dallas seventh. By the way, the Knicks choked that game away up 9 in the final minute. You got to win that game. But my God, Luka Doncic's first ever 60-20-10 game ever. That dude is nuts. Portland is ranked 8th. Utah still hanging on. They're ranked 9th. Golden State's ranked 10th right now. Then you got Minnesota, who something's up there. Current count is injured. Something's wrong over there. Thunder. Got the Lakers. Lakers suck. What else is new? So they get the Spurs and the Rockets. Moving on to college football. We got a mic request. Gotta put them on the speaker. I'm not sure if this might be a new speaker. We shall see. We got Troy, number 24, Troy over UTSA, number 25, 18-12. You had UAB beat Miami, Ohio, 24-20. There is too many bowl games in college football. I'm sorry. I keep saying it, but there was too many bowl games. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, my friend?
All right, man. What's your name?
Tyler, man. What's yours?
I'm Jake. Nice to meet you, Tyler. What do you want to talk about, Tyler? Welcome to Talkin Sports with Jake.
I got a Instagram page that I just recently started up. It's called Big Dog Betting. I would love for you guys to follow it. Today that I'm looking at, I love a good plus money play with the Washington Huskies money line at plus 130. They don't have a lot of people. Texas have a lot of people out, sitting out for the NFL draft next year and whatnot. I just think this is a great value spot as bettors. This is the spot we look for as handicappers.
All right. So, by the way, Tyler, thanks for joining. I know nothing about sports betting. So, some terminology I'm not familiar with, but so what I'm hearing is you should take Washington State to beat Texas.
You know sports bet?
I do not sports bet.
Where are you located at?
I'm in Long Island, New York.
So what's up, man? I got family up in Connecticut. So
Okay.
I know all about that area.
Okay.
How old are you?
I am 20 years old.
Have you ever thought about betting on sports?
A little bit. I know the age might be 21, so maybe I should wait till March when I turn 21. Might be the best. That might be a good idea. I want to get in trouble. So maybe it is 18. I don't know. I gotta look that up. But I'm not a better. I'm still in college. I still gotta we're paying my loan first.
That's cool, man. Where are you going to college at?
I go to Sacred Heart University, which actually is in Connecticut. It's in Fairfield.
Sure, that's awesome, man. You like it?
I do like it there. It's nice up there. It gets a little cold in the winter because we're so close to New England, but it's nice up there.
Yes, sir. All right, boys. Well, I was just stopping in, telling you to take the Washington Huskies money line. Hope you'll have a good day.
Thank you, Tyler. Go follow him on Instagram. Take the Washington Huskies money line. I don't even know what that means, but y'all should go and do it.
Yes, sir. See y'all later.
I'll see you later, man. Back to college football, we had these games are from the 17th, so this is pushing 2 weeks now. 14 Oregon State over Florida, 30-3. God, Florida is horrible. They've gotten so bad, that team. But all that money on their new facility to be 6-7. Louisville over Cincinnati, 24-7. We had Fresno State over Washington State, 29-6. Southern Miss over Rice, 38-24. BYU over SMU, 24-23. And then Boise State over North Texas, 35-32. On Monday, the 19th, you had Marshall over UConn, 28-14. That being said, kudos to UConn for even getting into a bowl game. 6-7 is a lot better than they've been the last few years. Yeah, the 20th, Tuesday the 20th, Eastern Michigan over San Jose State, 41-27. Toledo beat Liberty, 21-19. That game was tied, I think, late. Toledo took a light lead. You had on the 21st, Western Kentucky over South Alabama, 44-23. Thursday, the 22nd, you had Air Force over Baylor, 30-15. On the 23rd, it's on Friday, Houston over Louisiana, 23-16, and then Wake Forest over Missouri, 27-17. On Christmas Eve, you had Middle Tennessee over San Diego State, 25-23. On Monday, you had New Mexico State over Bowling Green, 24-19. And then on Tuesday, you had Buffalo over Georgia Southern, 23-21. Memphis over Utah State, 38-10. East Carolina over Coastal Carolina, 53-29. My goodness. And Wisconsin over Oklahoma State, 24-17. So Luke Fickell or making a difference over there. And then yesterday, in number 15 Oregon over UNC, 28-27. Drake May, who's probably, when he comes out next year, will be one of the top prospects. UNC's quarterback, 18-35 for 206, 3 touchdowns. Duke over UCF, 30-13. Did Arkansas over Kansas, 55-83 in triple overtime. Kansas had 2 converts to tie in triple overtime, and then their quarterback just made this god-awful throw. Shane Daniels played great. He went for 544 and 5 score, but that last throw, good lord, that was bad. Texas Tech over Ole Miss, 42-25. Got some upcoming games. You got on Friday, you have Maryland against number 23 NC State, Pittsburgh against 18 seed UCLA. You got 21 Notre Dame against number 19 South Carolina. You got Ohio against Wyoming. That's the Barstool Bowl. So Barstool Sports, all of them will be hosting that. And then you got this is the big one. Friday night at 8:00 on ESPN. Number 6 Tennessee, number 7 Clemson in the Orange Bowl. That should be a really good game. Clemson is probably gonna win now because Hendon Hooker is injured. And then our New Year's 6 bowls are inching up on New Year's Eve. Got number 5 Alabama against number 9 Kansas State in the Sugar Bowl, in the Music City Bowl, Iowa, and Kentucky. You got and then you have your college football playoff games. You got the Fiesta Bowl, number 3 TCU is number 2 Michigan. By the way, TCU's quarterback Max Duggan just declared for the draft. Michigan's running back Blake Corum was injured, but he was a Heisman finalist. He was a Heisman candidate. He is still on the fence. We'll see. And then that's at 4:00 on New Year's Eve. 8:00 on ESPN on New Year's Eve. You have number 4 housing is top-ranked Georgia in the Peach Bowl. Winners of those 2 games will play each other in the national championship, which will be on Monday, January 9th. And then Monday the 2nd, you have 22 seed Mississippi State against Illinois in the ReliaQuest Bowl. By the way, not only is there too many bowl games, the names of these bowls are so stupid. Number 16 Tulane is number 10 USC. We'll see if see Caleb Williams win the Heisman in action, hopefully in that game. 17 LSU against Purdue in the Citrus Bowl, and then in the Rose Bowl, we number 11 Penn State against number 8 Utah. And by the way, before I go into NFL, why is everyone going in the transfer portal? I don't understand this whole. Why is everybody transferring? I don't understand. I just want to put it out that I do not understand why every single player in the league is transferring. Now let's talk some NFL. From this past week, week 16, geography, but just 19-3 on Thursday Night Football. Good God, Zach Wilson is bad. Get out of New York. You suck. You can't throw. You can't run. You can't do anything. You absolutely suck. Absolutely trash. How Chris Trevor looked better than you in the quarter and a half he played. Thank God Mike White's back this week. This was at least a slight chance of going to the playoffs. Ravens over the Falcons, 17-9. Get the Ravens to 10-5. Falcons drop to 5-10. We'll see if Lamar Jackson plays this week. Panthers over the Lions, 37-23. Panthers ran for over 300 yards in that game. Lions, I don't know how you come up in a big game like that and give up 300 yards rushing. That's just embarrassing. But Carolina playing well. Kudos to Steve Wilkes there. Third-term coach. Bills over the Bears, 35-13. I'm hearing the commissioner of the Big Ten might be their new president CEO. He was the CEO for the Vikings at one point. He's also an executive for the Rams and Lions at one point. He's been the Big Ten commissioner since 2020. So that's some NFL news right there. But the Bills just ran over the Bears 35-13. Poor Justin Fields, that poor man. Get him some help this offseason, please. Saints over the Browns 17-10. It was a lot of really cold games. It was like 6 or 7 games that were below 10 degrees. By the way, what is with these NFL players showing up to all these games this past week? They were like 5 or 10 degrees and having no shirts on. Y'all are going to get sick. I don't understand. It doesn't look cool to me. I know they all are jacked, so they're all jacked. So they're showing off their muscles, but like, you guys aren't getting hypothermia. Like, this dumb. Saints win 17-10. They're 6-9. Somehow only a game out of first place in that god-awful NFC South. Browns are now eliminated from playoff contention. Chiefs over the Seahawks 24-10. Chiefs 12-3, 2 seed in the AFC. Seahawks are up to 7-8. Vikings over the Giants 27-24. Greg Joseph 61-yard field goal as time expires. The Bengals over the Patriots 22-18. Bengals are 11-4. Patriots are 7-8. You have Texans, they get a win. They beat the Titans 19-14. Titans are falling apart. They play tonight against the Cowboys, and they're starting Josh Dobbs. Ryan Tannehill is injured, probably for the season. And they're benching Malik Willis, who probably will be the star next year for Josh Dobbs, as Willis has been so bad. We have the Niners over the Commanders 37-20. Heineken got benched for Carson Wentz late in that game. He had a couple of bad turnovers. Carson Wentz is going to start this week, which I do not agree with. They've won with Heineken and not with Wentz, so I don't love that move. Cowboys over the Eagles 40-34. Of course, the Eagles didn't have Jalen Hurts, so Cowboys stay alive and now have an outside shot of winning the NFC East. Steelers over the Raiders 13-10. Good Lord, the Raiders are bad. Wow, they are bad. Derek Carr has been benched for Jared Stidham these last 2 weeks, which means he's probably done as a Raider. Thank God, he has not been good this year. Vontae Adams not happy about it. Obviously, they're close friends. And then Sunday, this is on Christmas Day. You had Packers over the Dolphins 26-20. Packers all of a sudden won 3 in a row. They're right there in the playoff picture. Miami is struggling, and now Tua's out, possibly for the season with his 3rd concussion of the year, which I didn't even know was possible. The Rams dropped 51 on the Broncos, win 51-14. Nathaniel Hackett has been fired, as well as the O-line coach and the special teams coordinator. I want to talk about Denver for a minute. Why did the Broncos think that they bring in a quarterback in Russell Wilson? You have 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, a 5th-rounder, 3 players, and you give him $165 million guaranteed, $240 million total. A veteran quarterback who is disgruntled in Seattle because, he didn't like that. The Seahawks scouted Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes when they were draft prospects. He didn't like that they didn't put a good enough offensive line around him. He was tired of getting hit. Why did you think that guy was going to work with a rookie head coach? Why? That Hackett was so bad. Russell Wilson was also horrible. He has just 12 touchdowns all year. Barely is thrown for 3,000 yards. But Hackett was also terrible. Like, Russell Wilson looked like he didn't know how to run the offense, which doesn't make any sense. I know he was in Seattle his whole career, but Seahawks have had like 3 different offensive coordinators. They had Darrell Bell for a while. Then they had Brian Schottenheimer. Then they had somebody else. So a veteran quarterback like that who has succeeded in like 3 or 4 different offenses in Seattle, I don't know why this one offense was his line. I honestly think, excuse me, I really think that when the Broncos were interviewing head coaches, they thought Hackett would bring Aaron Rodgers because they figure Aaron Rodgers is finished making coaches look good. He's made Mike McCarthy look like a genius. He goes to Dallas and he looks pretty mediocre. He's his clock management skills and his play calling skills don't look as good as they did in Green Bay. Prime Aaron Rodgers with Matt LaFleur. I mean, Matt LaFleur looked like a genius, and then earlier this year, people were calling for Matt LaFleur's job. Friggin' Wintrick probably saved it, if it even did that. Like, right, Hackett might not be ready to be a head coach. I mean, he was offensive coordinator in Jacksonville. Couldn't last there. He goes to Green Bay. Alfred looked a lot better. He was also running Matt LaFleur's offense, and he had Aaron Rodgers, as well as Devontae Adams. If he lowers Rodgers, Rodgers maybe could probably carry him for a bit. And with the supporting cast, Broncos might be a Super Bowl contender. But then Aaron Rodgers decided to stay with the Packers, so they were kind of screwed. So they did the next best thing, which was overpay for Russell Wilson and give up all their draft picks and give every single penny that they give their entire salary cap to Russell Wilson. And just it blew up on their face. But Hackett's gone. And that's a dumpster fire. You got, the receivers are been frustrated all year with Russell Wilson. You got on the sideline, you got their backup Brett Ripping goes over the offensive line and said that you should help up Russell Wilson when he gets hit. Earlier in the game, Russell Wilson got sacked and the O-line didn't help him up. And Dalton Risner, the Broncos left guard, shoved him, started screaming at him. It's a really, really bad look. Now you fire the head coach. You also fire the O-line coach from the special teams coordinator. And for some reason, the interim head coach is a guy that Hackett brought in mid-season to help him with clock management. He stays and gets promoted to head coach. That does not make any sense. I do not understand. I just don't. Something needs to change in Denver because that is a dumpster fire. And they don't have the draft picks to fix it because they don't have a first-round pick. I mean, they got Miami picks from a Chubb trade, but they don't really have the picks to. They don't have a lot of draft picks, and the first one, which should be a top 5 pick, is going to be towards the very end of the first round, probably, if the Dolphins make the playoffs. Even if they do, and the Dolphins miss out, they'll still barely be in the top 20 when it should be top 5. And they don't have a second round pick either, So they're screwed. Can't imagine they have too much cap space, and they're paying Russell Wilson $50 million a year, and they can't cut him because there'll be $107 million in dead caps. They're stuck for probably 4 more years. They are screwed. I don't know what head coach is going to want that job. And the defense, they've been amazing all year. It's obviously on the league's worst offense this year. But you have Baker Mayfield, who doesn't even know the playbook or not even knows his receivers' names yet. Drop 51 on you guys. That's just abysmal. Bucks over the Cardinals 19-16 on Sunday Night Football. Tom Brady leads the game-winning drive in overtime. And the Chargers over the Colts 20-3. They clinch a playoff spot. Herbert goes to the playoffs for the first time in his career. Good God, Nick Foles is awful. He's had a wacky career. He had 1 year, he had 2013, he threw 7 touchdowns in the game, which is an NFL record. He set the NFL record for a touchdown to interception ratio, 27 touchdowns against his 2 picks. Then he hurt his shoulder. Got traded to the Rams, was terrible, got benched for Case Keenum. Then, he was considering retiring. He didn't want to play football anymore. Andy Reid called him up. Andy Reid was his coach in his first stint in Philly. Said, hey, don't retire, come to Kansas City. Came to Kansas City and was a backup there. Found his love for playing football again after the year. Went back to Philly as a backup. Carson Wentz gets hurt. Leads him to a Super Bowl win. Super Bowl MVP. Dropped 41 points on Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in that game. Was amazing. In 2018, he again had stepping for injured Carson Wentz and led the Eagles to the playoffs, even won a playoff game. Got $88 million for the Jaguars. Was horrible. Got injured, played just 4 games. Was benched for Gardner Minshew. After the year, they traded him to the Bears for a draft pick. Was a backup for Trubisky. Ended up replacing him, but he was just as bad. So eventually he gets benched. He gets basically re-benched for Trubisky, who's a third-string quarterback for a couple of years over there. And then eventually he gets traded to the Colts. Colts pick him up for depth. Of course, he knows Frank Reich. He was his offensive coordinator with the Eagles when he won a Super Bowl. Finally gets his shot, and he goes out and plays like crap, throws 3 picks, and gets sacked 7 times. What an odd career Nick Foles has had. But the NFL standings in the AFC, got the Bills have the top seed. 12-3. They've already clinched the East. Chiefs and Batusi also at 12-3, but the Bills beat them, so they have a tiebreaker. They've already wrapped up the AFC West. Bengals have a 3 seed. They've clinched the playoff spot. A game ahead of the Ravens in the North. Jaguars are the 4 seed. They currently have control of the South. They have a same record as the Titans, but they beat the Titans once this year. Ravens are the first wild card. They're already in a game behind Cincinnati. Chargers are already in. They clinched a spot there, but second wild card spot. You got Miami at 8-7. Got the Patriots, Jets, Titans, Steelers are all 1 game out, and then the Las Vegas Raiders hanging by a thread. In the NFC, of the Eagles right now are ranked first. They clinched the playoff spot, and winner or Cowboys lost to clinch the East. I believe also the 1 seed. If they win, they clinch the 1 seed. Vikings have 2 seed at 12-3. They've already wrapped up the NFC North. Niners are 11-4. They've already wrapped up the West. 14 is the Bucks, somehow in first at 7-8 in that god awful NFC South. The first walker up, the Dallas Cowboys 11-4. They've already clinched a playoff spot. They got the Giants at 8-6-1. I believe if they win this week, they'll be in. And the Commanders 7-7-1 at that last spot. You get the Seahawks, Lions, and Packers all are 7-8. They're right there, and then the Saints, Panthers, and Falcons are right there as well because of how the division. They're still technically in it because of how bad their division is. All right, I'm going to finish up with some game picks for this week for the NFL, and then I will wrap up the show. Thursday Night Football, you have the Dallas Cowboys against the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys. Titans have a lot of injuries. They just benched Malik Willis for Josh Dobbs, who I'm not sure has ever played before. Dallas should win, no problem. Titans don't have Derrick Henry either. Cowboys won't have Tony Pollard, but they still have enough pieces to win that game for sure. Cardinals and Falcons. I'll take the Falcons. They're technically still alive. Cole McCoy is now starting. Thank God, because Christmas Ford was horrible last week against Tampa. But I'll take Atlanta. They actually have something to play for. Cliff Kingsbury's probably is a foot up the door. I don't think he comes back next year. Bears, Lions. I'll take the Lions. Bears suck. Lions are playing well. Trying to see if they can sneak into the playoffs. Jaguars, Texans. Texans have been very competitive these last couple of weeks. You took the Chiefs to overtime. I'm going to pick the Lions, and then you beat Tennessee last week. But Jacksonville's also playing very well. I'll take Jacksonville. Looks like they're going to win the South this year. Talking about might be starting Josh Dobbs against y'all next week. Broncos, Chiefs. Chiefs should win no problem. They've won like 10 in a row against the Broncos, who are a complete mess. I'll take the Chiefs. Dolphins, Patriots is a big game. As Jeff and I want the Dolphins to win. If the Jets win out and the Patriots lose once, just go to the playoffs. The Dolphins are a game ahead in New England right now. Of course, they've had an up and down year with Dolphins. They won their first, then lost 3 in a row, then they won 4 in a row, and now they've lost. They've since lost 4 out of 5. I'm actually going to take the Dolphins. I know Tua's out for concussion, probably out for the year. But Teddy Bridgewater, he's played a lot of football. I don't think he's a very good starter, but I do trust him as a backup. I think he gets the job done. He's got a lot of pieces over there with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and all those guys. Mac Jones has struggled with here. He's definitely frustrated with the play calling in New England. So I'll take Miami in that one. Colts, Giants. I'll take the Giants, which should wrap up my playoff berth for the Giants. I'll take them. The Colts suck. Nick Foles is starting again. I have no idea why. I'll take the Giants. Saints against the Eagles. I'm going to take the Eagles. Hurts might be coming back. Even if I don't, I trust Gardner Minshew. Saints are not very good. There's rumors that, Sean Payton might be coming back. I heard Dennis Allen, is expected to come back next year. But you never know what could happen. We'll see. I'll take the Eagles in that one. Panthers, Bucks. This is a big game. Panthers are 1 game behind Tampa in the NFC South. They beat them already. So if the Panthers win this game, they will head into Week 18 first place. They'll they'll have a win and in scenario. I'm gonna take the Bucks though. I think it'll be a close game. I'll love to see Brady lose, but I don't see Brady losing this game. I'll take the Bucks in that one. 1 o'clock, Browns, Commanders. Commanders going back to Carson Wentz. I don't trust Carson Wentz with my life, but the Browns defense is horrible. I'll take the Commanders. I think they're gonna pound the rock and lean on their defense. I'll take the Commanders. 49ers against the Raiders at 4:05. I'll take the Niners. They're playing really well right now, and the Raiders are starting Jarrett Stidham. I'll take the Niners. Jets, Seahawks 4:05. I'm gonna take the Jets. Mike White is back to being the starter. He is now healthy, and I trust the Jets defense against Geno Smith. Vikings, Packers. That's a big game. Packers probably need to run the table to get into the playoffs. I'm gonna take the Vikings, which should be a good game. But I will take the Vikings. They're having a great year. Rams, Chargers. I'll take the Chargers. Rams. Baker Mayfield's looked pretty good. Well, looked as best as he's probably ever looked with these last few weeks with the Rams, but I'll take the Chargers in that one. Sunday football, Steelers, Ravens. I'm going to pick Pittsburgh. I don't think Lamar Jackson's playing. He knows he's got a big payday coming up. He's going to want to preserve himself, so I think the Ravens offense, that's average 12 points a game. without him will be the same offense you see. Pittsburgh defense is stepping up. Kenny Pickett's playing a lot better. I'll just take Pittsburgh. All of a sudden, might be able to get into the playoffs. Actually, they looked cooked a couple of weeks ago. I'll take the Steelers. Monday Night Football, Bills against the Bengals, which should be a great game. I'll take the Bills. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Until next time, so long, and have a great day.